Okay, all right. Well, welcome everyone to this session. I will be chairing it, but I'm also giving the first, it's paper, I suppose, but it's really more what I like to do is an informal discussion, just update everybody on what's going on with the journal and let you know about some new things going on. I always like to slip this painting in because it just works for so many purposes. It's really about where do we come from, what are we, and where are we going with regards to the journal. I imagine most of you are familiar with the journal. You may not be aware that we're now, in our 43rd year of publication. So going back to 1980, the first issues were put out. And the journal looks at ethnobiology in a really broad perspective. It's become broader and broader as the years have gone on, but there's always been a really strong engagement, not just with contemporary ethnobiology and the ethnobiology of the present, but ethnobiology of the past. And so when you think about all these wonderful journals that are out there, and in the last 20 years, we've seen a lot of more journals coming out. And it's really been an amazing time because it's this idea that a rising tide, all the ships go up. And so I think the level of scholarship has improved and the quantity of scholarship has improved as well through all these efforts. So it's great. But I would say one niche for the Journal of Ethnobiology that isn't perhaps covered as much in some other journals is this engagement with the field of archaeology. So there's been a strong concern with the past and with zooarchaeology going back to the beginning. Obviously the present, but also the future as well. And so we're seeing papers that are more forward-thinking policy papers, things like that. It's been a good year for the journal in terms of impact factor. We went up 46% from the last year. Personally, I don't pay a lot of attention to these numbers because when they go down, then I don't have to explain why they go down. but it's like, it's sort of like when the economy is doing well, then the president takes credit for it, and when it stays quiet when it's not that way. But the nice thing is that we do see these trend lines that tend to rise over the last couple of decades in terms of the impact factor. We're now in the top 25% for all anthropology journals that are out there, and top 50% for all biology journals. So it's good, and I think our peer journals are also seeing this rise in impact factor. So again, as indicators of the field in general, that we're doing quite well, and it's quite a healthy trend. Folks often ask what our acceptance rate is. Well, it tends to be 10 to 20%. Now, if you're in the audience and you're thinking about submitting a paper and now you're saying, oh, that's a really low level of acceptance, don't be concerned, because the majority of papers that we actually put into formal review end up getting published. We do a lot of desk rejections where our editorial team looks at the papers and decides that it's not worth taking up the time of reviewers. Reviewers are the lifeblood of any journal, and we do our best when we send a paper to a reviewer that we've already made a decision that we think this is likely publishable. But of course, we don't know everything. And that's why you have peer reviewers, because we may be missing a fatal flaw in the paper because it's on some topic that we don't have expertise in. So we rely heavily on reviewers to point that out, but also to make the papers better and to work with authors and improve the papers. So my point is that we're a big tent, and we're also an inclusive tent, and we'd love to see more papers. So don't feel like you're not going to get rejected. We're also committed to a quick turnaround as well. Why do things get rejected? Well, there's a lot of different reasons, but I could say that the vast majority of papers that get rejected right out of the gate are for two main reasons. One, lack of a research question. The Journal of Ethnobiology doesn't publish raw data lists. There's nothing wrong with that type of paper, and someone once said that's the building block of natural history is the building block of subsequent formulations and theoretical topics. So you need the raw data. But the journals made the decision a very long time ago that wasn't going to be the type of paper published. So there needs to be a research question. It doesn't necessarily have to be a quantitative approach to it, but there needs to be some argument you're making in the paper. The other issue that we see a lot with Journal of Ethnobiology is a lack of engagement with culture. The ethno is missing. Again, these could be perfectly fine papers for other venues, but the Journal of Ethnobiology, coming out of, I would say, more of a social science perspective, even though we have a lot of people that are biologists and from biological sciences working with us, and even editors in the past, But when you get a paper that goes into 3 pages of detail about the latitude and longitude of the research site and the precipitation and so on and so forth, and then you don't even know who the people are other than where they live, that's not going to fly. Again, you don't have to have a full ethnography either, but there needs to be some sort of understanding of what the ethnocide is in the paper. The big news is that at the beginning of this year, we moved to Sage as our publisher. Sage is a relatively small private press. The Society of Ethnobiology still owns the journal, so it wasn't a sale, but we signed a contract with them to publish the journal. They've been absolutely wonderful to work with. They were recommended to us by Russ Bernard, who, if you're familiar with his work in research methods, the name might be familiar. And the journal Field Methods has been published by them for a long time. And so, we had good recommendations. We looked at some other offers and they came in the best, basically how that happened. And I think there was a widespread consensus within the society itself for the move. So it was not a contentious move at all. One of the things they brought to us that we've been really happy with is because we've been wanting to do this, but we had some technological limitations, is to publish the papers as soon as they're accepted and not wait for them to come out in print. Sage has an online first, so as soon as we accept the paper, it goes into copy editing with them. Within about a week, it's actually published. And so that enables us to streamline the process. And for people that have really good reasons for getting something out quickly, like you're a graduate student, you're finishing up and you're going on the job market, or you're going up for tenure, or I don't know, you're about to retire and you want to throw away all your research and just get it out the door. Whatever the reason is, it comes out faster this way. We're launching a new submission system via Sage on July 1st. And I mentioned this because we're still using OJS as our submission system during this transition process. So if you have a manuscript with us right now, that will stay in that system until we're ready to publish it, if it's accepted, and then we'll move it to the new system. But as of July 1st, any new submissions will go straight to the Sage site. And it's pretty self-explanatory. And it's a nice system. We've tested it out with some authors and they've been quite happy with it. We're also looking at more engagement with associate editors. So we reduced the number of associate editors in the journal and attempt to streamline it and build a team. We're still adding some associate editors because we are paying careful attention to issues of diversity and inclusion, and also just in terms of academic expertise. So if, we're always willing to take comments. So if you see an area that you feel is glaringly obvious that we're missing in terms of our associate editorship, let us know. Maybe that will be you that comes and joins us. Special issues. We're also updating our special issues guidelines. Special issues have become a really important part of the Journal of Ethnobiology. In the last 15, 20 years, we're doing at least one a year, in some instances 2 a year. And it really enables us to engage with a much broader audience than ethnobiologists, and also allows us to really expand the field in terms of how we're viewing it. So the process is, as you might expect, is a bit different in terms of acceptance and deadlines and stuff like that. But those special issue guidelines will be out soon. If you're interested in doing a special issue, feel free to talk to me or anybody on the editorial team, because we're always looking for new ideas. Might be good to look at what we've recently published, say in the last 5 or 10 years, because we probably won't revisit a topic that soon. But if it's something 15 years ago, then it might be time to have the next conversation about that particular topic. We have 3 in the pipeline right now. The next one that will most likely be coming out in the next issue is Ethnobiology and Philosophy, which is a really interesting topic that been obviously little explored. And I think you'll be quite happy with the results in that special issue. Reviews, another new area, and pleased to introduce Alvaro as our new senior associate editor for reviews. And the idea is to create a section that is, we're basically using as our model the annual reviews, the annual reviews in anthropology, annual reviews in ecology and systematics, but these really interesting synthetic reviews, not bibliometric reviews, not papers that say, oh, there was, 25% of the papers published in North America were on this topic, that kind of stuff. I mean, there's a place for that, but that's not really what we're looking for here. We're looking for reviews that are comprehensive, synthetic, and have an argument to make about where the field's going or should be going. So we're looking for new ideas and submissions, and much like annual review, while we'll take unsolicited manuscripts, we'd be glad to have them. We're also coming up with a list of topics that we would like to see annual reviews reviews on in the journal, and then soliciting contributors to write those. So if you have an idea, please let us know. We'll add it to the list. This is the blurbs. I won't read all this to you because I know it violates the rule of PowerPoint with text and all that. But it's just written so elegantly that review articles that connect two or more topics in ethnobiology related fields have the potential to significantly advance research, identify knowledge gaps, and spark debate across disciplinary divides. This will be going out on the website very soon. But Alvaro is here, so feel free to talk to him or me in person. I don't want to give this presentation without due acknowledgement of all the tremendous amount of work that's gone into the journal before I got here. And it's actually my second time as editor back in 2005 of the journal. And just in that time, I've seen so much improvement, and everybody that's taken it on has made it better over the last 43 years. So I'm deeply indebted in gratitude to all this work. Hopefully I can live up to that work that's been done so far. So thanks to everybody who's contributed over the last 40 years, but I especially want to thank Rob Quinlan, who just stepped down. Unfortunately, he couldn't make it to the meeting. Jeff Wall is still on board. Jeff's the managing editor and absolutely fantastic to work with. I would not be able to do the job I do without Jeff's efforts. So if you see him, he's not at the meeting either, but next time you see him, tell him, pass on the acknowledgements. And of course, the current editorial team as well, all the associate editors. And got bags of cash waiting in the lobby for our reviewers because they're the most crucial element. And, I wish we could, right? But yeah, without the reviewers, we're dead in the water. And so if you reviewed for us, thank you, thank you, thank you. If you haven't reviewed and you get asked to review, we're seeking you out because we appreciate your contributions in the field. And so please say yes. But I know people are busy. Okay, with that in mind, we have a few minutes for questions and discussion. Yes, please. Thank you.
So price to subscribe, either print or online, or is it both?
Okay. We have the numbers man here. Steve, please.
It's $35 membership. The print in the new model is $125 per year beyond the subscription. We're raising retired to 50, and I think professional other regular membership is on 65 or 70.
I saw 65. I don't know if that was approved, but yeah. Yeah, right now, Sage, it appears that everything is available online for free right now. So if you go to the Sage website, I don't know how long that will. I mean, we are committed to open access for some of our papers, and so we negotiate that and with the publisher. Right now, you can read everything. So the articles that we just approved in online first. Stuff that the last special issue, which the first issue of the year with Sage, I neglect to mention this was a special issue devoted to Justin Nolan, and it was a really heartfelt, incredible work by people here in the audience and many others too. So that's all available to look at. Unfortunately, we didn't get print copies to bring them here, but the print copies are out there. Other thoughts? Yes.
Subjects or ways of approaching things that you've been observing the last 10 years or something?
I don't quite understand the question.
Any new tendencies and
in subjects? Yeah, no, that's a good question. I think within Journal of Ethnobiology and ethnobiology in general, there's been, and this is sort of a broader issue within anthropology, this idea of multi-species ethnography and ontological turn. I think a lot of that literature, quite frankly, missed the work that ethnobiologists have been doing for decades. And so it's nice that some ethnobiologists have sort of said, hey, you got the internet. You don't have to, reinvent the wheel here, because we've been talking about this, even if we didn't use a term like the ontological turn. But there's dozens and dozens of scholars that have engaged with that. So that's been one thing. I think a broader engagement with other fields, with new technologies, genetics and remote sensing and things like that has been on the rise as well. You had a question? Yes.
I'm just curious how you position or comparison to similar journals such as Journal of Ethnobiology.
Yep. Yeah, I see our peers unfortunately, we have Andrea Peroni here in the audience from Journal of Ethnobiology and Ethnomedicine, who I also collaborate with. Economic Botany, I collaborate with as well. So, I think that sort of in an organic fashion, we've developed different niches. Certainly, there are some papers that you could find a home in all three of those journals, and that's perfectly fine. Some papers that you would never see in you only see it in one journal. It'd absolutely just be glaringly obvious that that's not where its right home is. But apart from sort of the obvious things, like economic botany is not going to publish stuff on animals and sort of that domain that's been carved out. I do think that Journal of Ethnobiology leans a little more towards the social sciences, the ethnographic engagement than the other journals, but that's not to say those other journals don't have loads of that in there as well. So there's a lot of, forgot to silence my cell phone. It's the kookaburra calling. It's all bird calls, so then I know who it is. But yeah, so that answers your question. I think I'm out of time.